Hi everyone. In this video, which is the first episode of the video series for RedShift, I'm going to explain PBR shading. I'm using a Doom light with the HDR map, and before we start, make sure that you are using the RedShift photographic exposure. It's very important to get the best result out of the render engine. Then we will open our render setup and RedShift. I'm not going to touch any setting, just everything is default. Just opening the render view, and then we will assign our RedShift material. The PBR material here is recommended by RedShift is this one. There is another one named the RedShift Architectural, which is the shader that normally RedShift doesn't recommend to use. It's for old versions, and so for any reason, if you want to make any kind of PBR shaders, you have to use this one. I'm gonna make in the future videos about the other kind of shaders, but in this one, we are just gonna talk about the material. Okay, and if you just assign it, I'm gonna active the IPR render. So we have presets here. You can choose from any of them. I mean, glass to all different kind of metals. But here we're gonna try to make it by ourselves. We have the color as a solid color that you can just choose and change it to any color that you want. Applying texture, and you can just play with the weight. 0 means no diffuse color, no diffuse lighting, so it will be pure black. And 1, which is the full effect. We have roughness, which is different than the roughness and glossiness reflection. It's for simulating the matte surface or dirt. After that, we have the backlighting and translucency, which is for shading the objects like paper, leaves, that they are very thin surfaces, and you don't need to apply the subsurface scattering. It's much cheaper simulation, so it would be more efficient to use this way. If I try to show it to you, I'm gonna hide, and as you can see here we have a plane that I put a light behind it, and if I just turn on that light, we don't have that effect activated yet, so you see that there is no changes. But if I just put a different color here, and just by increasing this, you can see that we have this. So it would be a good idea to use this for making the shaders for paper and leaves. So next step is, if I just turn this off and hide that and bring back our model and just our IPR. So next is the reflection. It's better to keep the color of reflection pure white, and for getting the colorful result, we have to just play with the other settings. Weight, just like before, is for keeping amount of the reflection 0 to 1. Roughness is for making the glossiness surface. Just by increasing it, you can have the more glossy surface. And then we have the BRDF methods. That the most common one is GGX, and the other ones just you can try. There are too many documents out there. You can just check which one. What's the difference between them? We have Fresnel, which in RedShift it's very powerful setting, because you can just make any kind of material with the maximum physically correct result. For that, you have to know that there is totally in general 2 different kind of materials. We have dielectric and we have the metals. Dielectrics are everything just like plastics, glass, or whatever, and metals are just all the metals, nothing else. So for making any kind of dielectric material, you can just use the IOR, which is just like the other render engine. It's very normal. You can just use it to put numbers between 1 and 2 and just increase or decrease the reflection to have the material that you want. So it's better to not to use this method for any kind of metallic shader. After that, we have the let's start from the bottom, metalness, which is the method that it's best work with the substance and Unreal. If you are making any kind of maps and shader in the substance and you want to bring it here in RedShift, it's a method that you have to choose. You can just apply the maps, the metalness, and those maps that are coming from the substance. And as you can see, when you have this, the weight is disabled. You cannot just decrease or increase it. So you can just play with this metalness. So if you just put it 1, you have the full metalness, and you can just change the color of the metal by changing the diffuse color. So if you just change it to any color, you can just have that color. In the other render engines, if you just try to make a metallic surface, your diffuse color would be somehow disabled because you have to make it black. So you can just increase the reflection and the IOR and those stuff. But in here, it's more accurate, it's more physically true. So by changing the color, you can just have the different results. In the future videos, I will explain this kind of method more in depth, but for now, we just want to know how we can get a fast and simple result from our shader. Next one is the color and the metal edge. So by the way, with these 3 methods, you can make any kind of materials. Dielectric or metal doesn't have any different, but just with the IOR, it would be better just dielectric. So in this one, the color and metal edge, for all dielectric material, you have to keep this edge tint black, and you can just play with the other options by just increasing and decreasing it. The other one is this IOR Advance, which is very accurate because you have to put the RGB channel, I mean red, green, and blue wavelength totally separately. There is a website that you can just take your numbers from there by putting the red as a 0.65 and inputting this M as a, if I just try to keep them together, as you can see, yes, we have 3, red, green, and blue. So for each of these ones, you will have 2 numbers. One is IOR, which is this M, and the other one is the K, which is the observation K, and it's this one. So 0.65, which is red, and for green, we can just put 0.55, and you have this number. For example, at the moment, we have this part of the website. If you just select the 3D, which is for, as you can see, it's written for 3D artists, you can choose metal, plastic, crystal, glass, or anything liquid. So let's go with the metals and aluminum. So as you saw, if we input 65, which is 1.34 here, 1.34, and 7.47 for red, and if we put for green 55.55, and we have 0.96 and 6.39, we have 0.96 and 6.39 for green, and for blue we have to put 45, and we will have 0.61 and 5.3. We have 0.61 and 5.3. So as you can see, we have this, and also we have to, sorry, I forgot to just make this weight 0, diffuse weight. So as you can see, we have at the moment the aluminum, and you can just play with the roughness to have the result that you want. Also, we have the anisotropy and rotation, which is for trying to simulate the stretch on the any kind of direction that you have, for example, some brushed metal or anything. You can just try to these parameters. So you can just by increasing, if I just try to put it this much for, sorry, let's say 0.2, and reference, let's make it less to see the better result. As you can see, we have this kind of brushed metal effect. After reflection, we have the refraction. So let's just roll back all the changes that I did here, and I'm just gonna keep the diffuse color as a 0. So because normally the glass color is not coming from the diffuse color, you know, we're gonna just make it in the another part. So here we have the link to reflection. It means that the glass refraction IOR is coming from the reflection, which is whatever you change here is going to be affect here. Thin wall means for those situations that you don't want to have that ray blending effect in your shader, which is it can be any kind of flat glass or anything. You can just use this setting. We have also dispersion, which is normally for the normal material is something between 20 till 70. So 20 means the most powerful. Maybe as you can see, there is too much color variation, and 70 means the less, as you can see. For making tinted glass, these are the settings that we have to change. We have two different methods for applying. First one is the transmittance, which is just depending on the light density. You know, for example, this part of the model which is more thinner, there are more lights, and this part that is more thicker is less light. So if you just put any kind of color, let's put red, and as you can see, we have this tint color, and this area which is thinner, and if I just change the scale of that, if I just decrease it, as you can see here, it's close to white, but this area which is more thicker, we have less light, it's more colorful. In this method, there is no scattering. I mean, you cannot apply any scattering to that. You can just play with this scatter coefficient to make it more, how can I say, they call it cloudy effect. You know, by increasing it, as you can see, it's became milky. You know, the effect that we have is not scattering. It's just making a cloudy effect inside the object. The second method is this extinction, which is different, because if I just roll back all the colors, so here we have the extinction coefficient. So if I just put it red, we will not have red. And the reason is that now I'm telling that just filter all the red color. As you know, the white color, the light is red, green and blue. So if I want it to be red, I have to just filter green and blue. So in this case, now we have the red. And again, I can just, by decreasing this scale, again I have the same effect, as you can see. And somehow between these two methods, the second one, which is this extinction, is you have more option to play with to get the result that you want. And also you can have a scattering, because these parameters are depending on both the scattering and density of the light. So now if I just here put some scattering, as you can see, it's getting this result. And if I just make it with different color, as you can see, we have totally different results than their previous method. So also we have this phase. If you put numbers more than 0 till 1, you will have the different results than negative ones. If I just put the negative, so I will explain this phase and also the other parameters in depth in the future tutorials. The purpose of this tutorial was just introducing you this RedShift material and how you can use it in production, and making production ready shaders will be our next topics. So hope you enjoyed and you like this video tutorial. Let me know your comments.